Bobby Fazio.
All right, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's Driver Interviews with Bobby Fazio. I'm Bobby Fazio. As you all know, today is Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. Tuesday already. It's Tuesday. It comes and goes like really, really quickly here. But we got a couple things to talk about today. But as always, before I get to any of that, everybody who's out there, say hello. While you do that, I'm going to flash up a couple things like driverinterviews.com. Go to my website, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You know the deal. How many times do I have to say it? As soon as you go onto the website, boom, big red thing hits you in the face. Click on it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps me out. It's a way for you to sponsor me without even spending any of your own money. Okay? If you do want to spend some of your own money, you can buy shirts and stickers. You can actually sponsor the show, and you can donate too. Not a big fan of the donate word, but I really appreciate the donations that have come in. Specifically, Lester Rogers, thank you very much for your donation. Gregory Scott, thank you very much for your donation. And Jimmy Carter, thank you very much for your donation. I got 3 donations recently, so I'm honored, and I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. Be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Driver Interviews. Okay, so go to my or go on Facebook and Instagram. Just search out at Driver Interviews, and you should find me. Okay, it'll be my nice cartoonish logo, which is right here. See it? You'll see that. Click on it. Draginsights.com. Get a premium membership. Spy on your opponents. Look at your own stats. Up your game for 2023. Okay, it's only $50 for the year, and that signs you up for the contingency program. So don't miss out on that. I mean, use that to your advantage. That's like the next biggest thing. I have been going in there and just making sure data is all correct, doing a lot of double checks, triple checks, and things like that. So it keeps getting better and better. And lastly, Rob Youngblood, advancedclutches.com. Anybody that runs a stick out there, or if you're thinking of switching from a boring car to a fun car, go to advancedclutches.com and check it out. All right, give Rob a call. The 8-inch clutch with the 6 fingers is your best bet. And I can't wait to try my advanced clutch next season. All right, so we got a couple things to talk about. First off, Jay Leno is out of the hospital. He burned himself on his face. Actually, while I was in Burbank with a flat tire, my friend said, go to the supermarket down the street. Jay Leno shops there all the time. So I actually walked there while they were fixing my flat tire at the tire shop. And I'm looking around for him in the supermarket. I didn't see him. And then I find out on the news that the poor guy burnt his face working on his steam car. So that didn't work out. But Jay Leno's back and running right now. What's up, Walt? How you doing? Greg Scott, hello from the left coast. Hi, Greg. How are you, buddy? Peter Lanciers, good morning. Good morning. It is 9 a.m. for you guys out there. What's shaking, Don? I thought you were traveling today, but I'm glad I hope you're not driving and listening. But if you are, it's pretty cool. Keep it up. Another thing I wanted to tell everybody, when I was in Pomona, and I forgot to tell everybody this, my friend from college works for Universal Studios out there. He's in production. He's pretty damn high up now too. Like I see scripts before some of the actors see him while he's sitting there doing the budgeting. And then another friend of ours works for People Magazine. And I got them to come to Pomona on Saturday. And I said, look, guys, they can stay for a couple hours. Check out, here's Top Fuel. You can watch them. And then I said, come with me to the staging lanes because Stock Eliminator round 3, I think, was coming up. 3 or 4. And they came with me. I was talking to some racers. Chris Hall. They met Chris Hall. I know my friend's son gave Chris Hall a fist bump. I was explaining to them stock and super stock. And then we went in the stands and they watched it. I said, let me know what you think. Classic cars doing wheelies. They thought it was the coolest classes there. And they, honestly, let's be honest, my buddy could be watching right now. They know nothing about racing. But they said, yeah, those fast and loud cars were cool. But those cars that were doing the wheelies, like those Camaros and stuff, they were really cool. What's up with that class? I said, well, that's the one I just showed you in the lanes. That's the one that I do interviews on and cover and race myself. So There you go. That was a total outsider right there, telling us that he thought wheelies were cool and stock eliminator was cool. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I've gotten a few emails from people saying, hey, I want to get into stock. I have this car. Can you direct me to the rule book? Can you help me figure out what I need here? Will this work? Is this legal? Is this not legal? Things like that. That's what we need, everybody. What's up, Paul? How you doing? That's what I'm trying to do. Get some new faces out there. All right. Just a few more quick announcements, and then we'll get to our guest today, who's Geoff Turk. He's got the Blackbird. He's building the FX class car, which I'm excited about. I think that'll be a really cool class. So just a couple more things real quick, then we get to Geoff Turk. Anybody that already knows, if you don't know, I'm working on a close calls and like high wheelies video. So send me any video you have of close calls. I have a lot more close calls than I did before, meaning a wheelie that almost went over backwards or in the other lane or almost hit the wall. So it might have to be a close calls video and a wheelie video, but send me whatever you got and I'll make 2 videos. Who the hell cares, right? The more the merrier. NHRA Division 1 Banquet. The hotel link is up. Make sure you book your hotel room. Kaylin is waiting on the link for us to purchase the tickets. She says as soon as she gets the link from NHRA, she'll post it on the D1 website. East Coast Stock, Super Stock Racers, get your calendars. Dave Lay, if you want, pause this later, and you can see that address there. It has multiple different racers on there, myself included, driving Paul Gunther's car. And there's the address. Mail a check, $20 plus $5 shipping. So $25 check. If you want to order more than one, call Dave Lay. There's his phone number right there. And get yourself a calendar. It's got I can't say it's got my car, but it's got me doing a nice wheelie in the month of June, which happens to be my birthday month. So thanks, Dave Lay. You probably didn't know that, but it was an awesome accidental mistake that I'm really excited about. Everybody, whoever's going to PRI, let me know. Comment. Come see me out there. Hit me up. I want to meet people in person. I love meeting people in person. So let's do it. Hit me up. Come on. Find me. Let me know where you are. And hopefully I can get interviewed by NHRA again. I heard there's going to be an SRAC survey, according to Mike Volkman on classracer.com. He posted something like that. I haven't heard anything from our division rep yet, but if anybody knows anything about that, comment and let us know. I know we're probably not supposed to talk about that on here, so I won't get into the actual details of it. But all I'm going to say is contact your SRAC member and ask them about the survey if you haven't been notified yet. We'll stick with that. All right, and then lastly, I don't see any real stock or super stock rule changes other than what last week we talked about the AH, the rack and pinions being allowed in the super stock AH Hemi cars. So that's limited to 1968 Hemi Barracudas and Dodge Darts. Sounds like a safety issue to me, but other people had different comments on that. Feel free to comment right now what you think about that. Only one rule change that I did see, it was added to general rules for stock, super stock, and all the other sportsman classes, it was already in there that if you don't show up for the scale or the fuel check after a run, you will be disqualified. Now, my thing is, if I went like 1050 on Q1 and I scaled and I fuel checked, I'm in, okay, and assuming I passed. Now, if I went 1075 on the second run or I shut it off, I was never sure if I still had to scale or fuel check. So I always just did it just because I didn't want to get disqualified from the event. So the way I read that rule is you always have to go to the scale or the fuel check. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, the underlined part, the added part, is any object that is not found on a vehicle during the run is required to be removed from the vehicle before scaling. I really don't know what that means. I don't know if that really pertains to us. Who would have something on their car before the run or during the run that they wouldn't have on the car during the scaling? Comment and let me know. Maybe that's more of like a top alcohol dragster type of thing. I have no idea. So comment and let me know about that. Whew. All right. My voice hurts. So let's get to our guest here. He's got a couple minutes to talk to us, and we'll learn a little bit about some FX, some updates. So let me see if I can get Geoff Turk on here. Hey, Geoff, can you hear me, see me? And hear you and see you?
I can hear and see you. I don't know if you can hear and see me.
I can hear you just fine. All right, buddy. How you doing?
Cool. I'm doing great. Another day in paradise.
All right. Look, Geoff.
Oh, man. There's a nice-looking car.
Woo! Everybody who's listening today has just entered for a chance to drive this car. If you respond,
that's cool.
If you're the 100,000th caller at the end of the day.
and here's the sad truth. Most of them are probably better at it than I am. So But hey,
Geoff, the car's looking good. How's the build coming along? And what do you have for us as far as rules, completion of the class? Has anything changed? Anything that we need to know about?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, Bobby. I really appreciate it. As many times as I can, I jump on here and watch your podcast. There's other podcasts I've jumped on and watched, and people have pointed out to me I should get busy building the car and get off the podcast. So anyhow, but I have a lot of folks working very hard. The B&B race car, those guys down there are just humping hard to try to have us a car that we can be proud of showing at PRI. And I had a big teleconference with them this morning, and we got another challenge we're overcoming. And, they said, hey, we're just about ready to throw in the towel on this. We just can't get there. And I said, yeah, I'm telling you that if I actually agreed with you and said, throw in the towel, you'd all scream at me and tell me to go get lost and go find something else to do. So they all started laughing and said, yeah, we're in, we're going to get this thing done. So they're humping hard on it. And the whole team of B&B has just been doing a great job. It's a difficult thing to build the first of anything. We didn't pick the easiest car to build because the Challenger has a lot of inherent disadvantages. That it's much bigger and wider, and has stock. It doesn't have this class is set up so you can run the same parts as the Copo or the same parts as the Cobra Jet. Well, Cobra Jets and Copos have some special parts on them that come from the factory, the carbon fiber hoods, and they're different for the Copo than any production Camaro ever was, and the carbon fiber hood on the Cobra Jet's a different hood than any production Mustang ever had. Well, the hood you use on a 21 drag pack is exactly a production hood. So those are many of the challenges. Getting carbon parts made that match the exact specifications of the panel and NHRA will approve have been a real challenge for us. But in terms of rule changes, there really haven't been any. The big kind of confusion out there is this class somehow got held up because NHRA couldn't decide the rules. And the truth is, they decided the rules. It was ideally, I'd like to have had the rules decided in November of 21, but they decided about January of 22 what the rules were. We were hopeful with the head start we had, that we worked hard on all kinds of aspects of the program, that we'd get a car out in the middle of this year, and just the carbon fiber body panels, getting the carbon fiber body panels made that match the perfect stock specifications that NHRA will approve. So these cars look exactly like a Dodge Challenger. That's been the hard part. So we've got those parts now. The chassis has been coming along all along. The motor's in the car now, the transmission, clutch, everything's in the car, the seats in the car. It's going to be at PRI about 95% done. We'll lack some plumbing and wiring and final powder coat of the chassis and some other things, but it'll be very representative of a complete car, and we hope to be on the track with it here in January, February. But just to clear the air, there was no rule change. No one changed the rules around, and that kept people from building cars. And what happened is that many of the traditional pro stock chassis builders said it'd be a lot easier to build cars that were closer to the way they build pro stock cars, and meaning that they would build the car with a carbon fiber complete body that was an approved body that they laid on top of a tube chassis, that they built underneath it. But the rules were written as you had to use the stock steel quarter panels and roof, and that was agreed after many months of negotiation with all the parties that were involved, including the OEMs, who we obviously want to be bought into this class and supported with the class. And, they wanted stock steel roof and quarters on the car. One, that kind of is a way to make sure that the rest of the car, you can't cheat up the body too much if you have to use those parts as stock. And so many of the chassis builders didn't like that rule. It's not the way they build cars, and they petitioned for a rule change to get an all carbon body put on the cars. And NHRA went back and forth with them, and while they were going back and forth, they weren't building cars. We just continued to push on, and I just told Monty Grimm that, hey, we're going to build this car with steel roof and quarters. I hope even if you change the rule, that's going to be legal because we're building it that way. And he said we'd be one of the OG guys if they changed the rules. And then, we'd have a steel roof and quarters, and I had to do my part and lose some weight to offset that weight that we wouldn't get with the steel roof and quarters, which I've been working on. And it'll all be okay. So we kept pressing on, but our big delay has been getting the front end and the rear clip and the rear fascia and all molds made off perfectly stock parts and getting those parts made. And TJ, a guy at Wild Size Composites, has done a great job, doing a very difficult thing and being the first guy to ever make these kind of panels for this car. And now we have them. We have the molds. In fact, I own them. And we have these factory approved carbon panels that can be used in these cars. So we're making good progress, and we'll be not quite runnable when we get to PRI, but we'll be close. So I'm happy to report that and to say the car will be there.
All right. Not quite runnable, like raceable, or you want to be able to fire up the engine at PRI?
Yeah, we won't be able to fire it up at PRI. Okay. It won't be plumbed and wired, and we will lack some last brackets and stuff we got to put in the car, so we won't have powder coated the chassis yet because we don't want to powder coat it till all that stuff's done. There'll be some other, I'll call it minor fabrication work that hasn't been completed yet, but we hope to have all that done and be on the track, in the early part of the year, January, February, March at the latest, because I hope to actually be racing in March.
Yeah.
So
now, as far as I understand, you have to have a competition eliminator license. Is this still going to be an exhibition class within Comp Eliminator, or is it going to be its own class from day one when it comes out?
Well, it'll be it'll be a competition eliminator class. It can run as an exhibition if they want to run it as an exhibition at some races, which I think when they get a couple of the cars or 3 or 4 of the cars and they get 3 or 4 of us together to put on a show at a national event, maybe ahead of when it becomes a real standalone class, they'll have us run some exhibition runs, although that may never happen the way things have worked out. But you can run the car in kind of like you can run a factory supercar or a factory showdown car. You can run it in competition eliminator anytime you want. There's a class designator in competition eliminator for it, and you can run it in competition eliminator. So what'll probably happen is the first races we go, we'll probably race in competition eliminator, to just get our toe in the water and, kind of first taste of blood, so to speak. After we do some testing, obviously, and get to the point where we think we've got something that we can make go down the track and be competitive, we'll show up and run competition eliminator. They've seemed to, recent article that Competition Plus put out and Lonnie Grimm was quoted in, he seemed to indicate that somewhere around the middle of the year they'd start scheduling races where it's its own class, and they'd lay out the series for kind of the back half of the year. So maybe like the last half of the year there'll be 5 or 6 races, that are the true heads up class races running for the championship. Right. So hopefully by then we'll have already been out and raced a few times competition eliminator. We'll have been out and tested, then we'll run competition eliminator, and then we'll be ready to take on them Chevys and Fords in heads to head battle, and there'll be at least a couple of each of us out there trying. I don't know about the Mopar camp. There may be only one of us, but I could tell you there'll be plenty of copos based on number of cars being built and who's building them. And I'm very hopeful there'll be a Ford or 2, one with Holbrook's name on the side to race against, as well as maybe some other guys. So
I hope for a little diversity. Yeah, it makes it more interesting. The 5-speed transmission, what's the going trans here? Is it a Liberty? Is it a G-Force? What's everybody using?
Well, I mean, I don't know what everybody's using. I can tell you I'm using a Liberty. I spoke with Craig Liberty and his daughter at PRI last year and got a lot of good insight about their product, and being an old transmission guy at Caterpillar and, liking transmissions, I stood there and probably asked them way more questions than they wanted to have. But after picking their brains for a while, I decided they're definitely the transmission for me. So I'll be running the Liberty. It's clutchless, so you don't have to hit the clutch pedal every time you shift. You just bang it between gears, and it stands up to that. Now it's a kind of a different Liberty. He's got an extreme version that's kind of the pro mod version. He's got a pro stock version. This is kind of a hybrid of the two, because the power levels of these cars and the torque levels of these cars and the fact that they weigh more than a pro stock, he kind of felt like we needed something more than the pro stock transmission. I mean, the torque these engines make, everybody thinks that there's a lot of debate about how much power these engines, the factory showdown engines, make versus a pro stock motor. But, I have data from Mopar's pro stock program, and I can tell you these engines make, a couple hundred horsepower more, and they make a lot more horsepower for a lot longer across the RPM band than a pro stock motor makes.
Wow.
Now the car's got to weigh 300 pounds more, and the aerodynamics will be terrible compared to a pro stock car.
Right.
Especially if you're driving a Challenger, which looks like an SUV parked next to a Mustang, you know, but, you know, hey, for us diehard Mopar guys, you know, that's just a small price we got to pay, you know. But the Hemis do, you know, there's always a lot of static about, you know, the factory showdown rules and whether they're fair or not. And of course I have my own opinion about that. And just to be on the record, I think they were kind of hard on the Fords, and I raced a Ford for a while, and I think they were hard on the Fords again this year. But you know, the Fords are tough, and those engines are incredible, and you know, they were competitive, and Skillman and his fantastic team had a shot at it all year long, despite that. But in terms of the car, it takes a lot more power to make a Challenger go as fast as a Cobra Jet. And that's not a theory. I've had them both, and I can tell you that from a dyno number to a track number, you got to have more power in a Challenger to make it go as fast. And that's, you know, no big whoopee there. But it's funny how some people say, well, yeah, but aerodynamics doesn't matter until you go 200 miles an hour. Really? Why don't you go ride a bike and ride into the wind and then lay on the handlebars and stand back up? Which one do you end up doing when you're tired out? You lay on the handlebars, right? And how fast are you going? 20 miles an hour? You know? So aerodynamics matter, and Challenger's got a disadvantage in that way, but it makes up for it because the way the rules are set, you know, these engines make a lot of power. I would say they probably make more power than any of the other two engines, and they have to, because they have to be able to make more power to make that big thing keep up.
Right.
So.
And as of today,
so we're coming
in weight of 2650. So I guess we'll see how that plays out in the future.
Right. And the Mopars are coming into it with the same engine package they had. It was a pretty, it was a tough thing for me this year. I thankfully my wife's a horse racer, and I was able to, you know, kind of apply my energy and passion to help people win races, to her win races on her horse. But, you know, to set out most of the year and not run the old car. And when I did take it out, be very careful not to go too fast, because I didn't want the rules to change, because that engine's going in this new car. and the hardest pill to swallow was at the Nationals, where I really sandbagged big time. I didn't sandbag at Charlotte. I mean, I kind of let the cork out of the bottle a little bit there, maybe a little more than I wanted to. And then I backed it off when I ran the Nationals, and probably backed it off too much, but it served its purpose. They didn't make an adjustment to the power level of the Mopar engine. So I'm going into this new class with the same power I have in that car. And that car, you know, on paper still looks like it's probably one of the fastest cars out there. So if not the fastest, so we ought to have the engine to get it done. Now I know nothing about clutches, and nothing's probably a little overstatement, but I don't know much about clutches and clutchless 5-speeds and tuning the car with that powertrain and figuring out how to make all this work. The good news is no one else does really either, in terms of having put these things together in a car like this that we're building. But a lot of people are pretty smart. You know, there's a big announcement. Greg Stanfield's going to be driving a Rod Shop sponsored Copo in this class. So we'll have plenty of strong competitors. And, you know, when I sit back and think about, am I going to be able to hang with them or not? I just get out you know, some of the qualifying sheets from this year with running the old car and say, yeah, I can hang with those guys. We'll see. We'll see if I can. I mean, I'm obviously way past the point of no return at this point, and hopeful that if I can't figure it out, I'll one way or another, I'll figure it out. But it's an exciting new class. I mean, I'm not a big, you know, I don't sit around watching the Discovery Channel 24 hours a day, but I've had a lot of opportunity to work off some weight out here to try to get down to weight for the car, so the car can, you know, the cheapest weight reduction in the car is me.
You're doing that physically then. You're reducing your own weight is what you're saying.
Right. So I started out this year about 240, and I'm about 205 now, but
whoa.
But that journey's a lot of hours on a treadmill, and I've got a TV out here, so I have started watching a little Discovery Channel and some Street Outlaw and some No Prep King. Not that that's been on my list of things to do before.
Driver interviews with Bobby Fazio on repeat. That's all you got to do. Just play on YouTube.
Well, what I've discovered watching it is, you know, we need to bring a little bit of that to the NHRA, right? You know, and I even talked to Stanfield about it the other day when I saw his announcement. He and I talked a little bit, and I said, you know, we got to be willing to respect each other, but smack talk a little bit and bring a little excitement to this class, and have these door slammer cars that go 200 miles an hour out there doing battle and being a little unpredictable and a little scary. And I don't know that I want to drive on both sides of the track about every pass like the No Prep King guys seem to do. But I don't necessarily want to stack it into the wall too many times, because I'm not really good at body work. But the bottom line is, I think we gotta realize, we're putting on a show, and drag racing is growing in places sometimes where they work harder to put on the show than they do on their cars. Although they work pretty damn hard on their cars too. I mean, those cars are incredible, and I get a ton of respect for all those guys doing that in this No Prep King and Street Outlaw stuff. But anyway, it's kind of cool to bring some of that kind of racing, hopefully, to NHRA with this class. For me personally, to hopefully get in the sixes before I'm 60. I got 1 year left. I'm going to be turning 59 here pretty quick. So I've made a commitment. I'd be in the sixes before I was 60. So I got to get there. That'll be cool to bang, 4 gears going down the track, and popping the clutch and, yanking 4 gears going down the track. I mean, if you're a hardcore drag racer, like I've been for 40 some years, you can't imagine, you get blessed enough to be in an opportunity to maybe go do some of that. So I'm pretty pumped, as you can tell.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Geoff, can you answer this question here? What size tires they're allowed to run in the FX?
It's a very specific tire right now. Mickey Thompson's the only one that produces them. Hoosier's got one. They might make, I think it's I'll probably get this wrong, but I'll go from memory. It's 33 and a half by 10W by 16. And you have to run them on a 16 by 16 rim. So the 10W is kind of a misnomer. Anybody wants to Facebook friend me, I got a few friends before I pop my limit at 5,000. But if you don't friend me, you can look at my post anyway. But I posted when I was at the U.S. Nationals, I got the tires mounted. I actually had the set of tires off the shootout car, and I had the new tires next to them, and you can see a visual of how different those tires are. Literally, the rear tires for the new car, when you set them next to the rear tires we run in the shootout, it looks like the rear tires of the shootout car are the front tires. I mean, they're so small compared to. So it's a 33 and a half by 10W by 16, and the 10W on a 16.6 rim, 16 inches and 16 inch wide, is actually more like about a 13-inch wide tire, 12 and a half, 13-inch wide tire. So it's a big tire compared to what we've been running. And you got a real suspension, a real 4-link with real 4-link geometry that you can adjust. And, you got a 5-speed and a clutch, so that ought to be more efficient. So, I mean, if you just do the weight difference, that car behind me, the Blackbird, if I uncorked it in good air, 1,000-foot air, let's say that's good air, 1,000-foot air, the Blackbird would run like 750s, let's just say low 750s, if not dipping in the 40s, if I really uncorked it in 1,000-foot air. And so in 1,000-foot air, if you got a 1,000-pound less car, it ought to go 650s, 660s. So,
so you'll definitely be in the sixes before 60. I'm putting my money on that. Should we have we should put some odds on that.
Well, you got to remember, I got to stay between those walls and in my lane. So there's some, I can tell you that when people watch shootout cars, the showdown cars run now, they're all pretty relatively tame. Every once in a while, Barton or somebody will tune it up and do a half-track wheelie, or Stanfield or somebody.
That's what we like. That's what we need.
Yeah,
I'm afraid that's all going to go away. The smarter we get, the less we see that. They're not unpredictable anymore. So, like you said, but I'll be there with the microphone. Don't worry, I'll catch the drama. We can talk smack in the lanes. I mean, that makes it more fun.
Well, what I'm saying is that in the beginning of Factory Showdown, there was a lot more drama. I mean, 5 cars a year hit the wall, like in the first couple of years I ran Factory Showdown. So I don't want 5 cars to hit the wall every year in this class, but I can tell you as a driver, and I remember sometimes when I strapped into that car behind me, I wasn't sure I wanted to do it. It tried to hurt me more than once, and about got the job done. So and it hurt several of my competitors. I mean, to the point where someone didn't come back and race again. So I don't really want to end up in that situation, but I realize this is going to be new and different. It's a lot of power and a lightweight car. Yeah, it has a lot more tire, but it's going to be a handful, and it's always a handful when you're sorting it out. So you know, I shouldn't say this out loud, but I was talking to Darren this morning, and he's working hard on building the second front end. And I'm like, well, we already got somebody behind the front end. He goes, no, that's for you. I said, why do I need a second front end? He goes, when we put it in the wall a couple times, we got to have parts to put it back together. So he's already getting ready. So obviously he's got a lot of faith in my ability because he's already building another front end. Anyway, well, it ought to be fun. And if they're smooth and slick and do, 100-foot 3-inch wheelie and, set the tires down and go point A to B and go 670 at 220, that'll be pretty exciting too. So hopefully we'll get to that place, but there's probably going to be some fun in between, and hopefully I'll keep it off the wall.
I know I should probably wait for my close calls video. I might have some good material.
Yeah.
We'll make a part 2. We'll make a series out of it. So yeah, Geoff, well, it's awesome.
And a PRI, of course, I want to be very thankful to the NHRA for letting us bring the car and having it in their booth. There were a couple other options for us at PRI, but clearly helping the NHRA present this class. And, I'm like any other racer and any other guy driving a car. Some people like my car and like Mopar, and some people hate it and hate Mopar. So, hey, there'll be plenty of FX cars. If you hate Mopars and you hate the Blackbird and you don't like me much, there's lots of really cool people that are going to be driving these cars that hopefully you can like. Holbrook or Stanfield. If you can't like those guys, you can't like anybody. And they'll be out there quickly with cars. I don't know if there'll be any more FX cars at PRI, but mine will be there. And then the second thing I want to make sure you hear is that it hasn't been announced, but there'll be twice daily tech talks on the class, standing next to the car, but on the class in general. If you have no interest in my car, a Mopar FX car, you can come listen to Lonnie Grimm talk twice a day. I think at 11 and 3, they'll be talking about this class and, the plan for it and any questions people might have about it. And, my car will be there to look at as an example, even if it's a horrible Mopar and you're a Ford guy.
Everybody likes your car, Geoff. Don't worry. It's a cool car. I like the Blackbird, the paint scheme. Is that a paint or wrap? That's a wrap.
No, that the car, the original Blackbird is paint, and then the graphics on it. Scott Brown did a wonderful job and did such a wonderful job. We're pretty much keeping it the same for the new car, but anyway, the new car will be painted with a wrap, not a wrap. It'll be painted with graphics on it once we're done. At the show, we're going to put a flat black wrap on it as the base because we're going to peel it back off and do some things. We think it may look good enough. It just stays on the car. I mean, if it looks good 20 feet away and it's fast, I'm happy. I'm not a show car guy.
I can't wait to see it. And I was happy and I was honored that my driver interviews decal made it onto your car at Indy. I saw it on the side window. So
it did.
It was a nice picture, and that went on Instagram and Facebook.
So it was on there, and it was on there at Mo Party, and everybody asked me about it that walked up to the car, and I told them all about you. And at Mo Party, we uncorked it a little bit. We made 2 770 passes at Mo Party in 2,300 foot air. So we were able to show everybody what the old Blackbird still got in it because NHRA wasn't there making rule changes. So anyhow, we're gonna be happy. And that motor has I got to brag about Bischoff and Tony Bischoff and his team. That motor in the car. I put that motor in the car before Vegas last year when I sent it out there with Jason Deach to drive it. He ended up in the semifinals, should have won the race. And that motor's been that motor, transmission, and torque motor have been in the car ever since Vegas. So that's when I ran it at Mo Party. I think that was the 6th event I raced in, the 37th pass. So 37 pass on a factory shootout motor in a car that's a top 5 car, if not better than that, is remarkable. But that's all Bischoff. And so I got great partners, Bischoff, B&B Race Cars coming on board with this new car, and Liberty and Ram clutches. Pat at Ram's been incredibly helpful getting my clutch, and of course the same old crew helping me elsewhere. Holly EFI, one of my magic things, and I don't run Alpha in. I don't think you should try that. Anyway, but anyway, I listened to your great interview with Robin, which is incredibly informative. And then
make sure you tell him that you listened to it, all right?
And I listened to your follow up when you did your experiment. So anyway, I was wanting to call you and say, why are you doing that? Anyway, but anyhow, bottom line is I got the Holly EFI in there, race pack. Of course, on top of the engine, the thing that makes it all work, Whipple. I mean, these blowers are just incredible. If you don't have a Whipple blower, you should. I raced NA cars for so many years trying to make power, and then I realized I could have just put a Whipple on top of anything I ever tried to make power in street cars or race cars, and I've been way better. So anyway, I'm great partners and looking forward to the new class, and thank you for the time to talk about it. Please, if you have any time at PRI, stop by and listen to Lonnie Grimm talk about it. And if you get a minute, look at our car, and you guys can give me some tips on how to drive it, how to make it better, and hopefully we'll go out there and put a Mopar in front and stay in front. That's the plan.
All right. Well, best of luck, Geoff. And the NHRA booth was like right on Broadway as soon as you walked in last year. I'm assuming it would be in the same spot this year. Hopefully it is, because I want everybody to see your car as soon as they walk in. I want everybody to see the NHRA tent as soon as they walk in. And who knows, if you walk away, I might stick 30 Fazio stickers on it while you're not there. So
hey, bring me a Fazio sticker, because we're putting some of the, I'm not a big contingency guy, not just because I don't like my cars with so many decals I can't see the car. So and I made enough money in life that I don't care whether I get that money at the end of the track if I win. So anyhow, I put stickers on there only of people that are really important, have a lot to do with helping me with the car. And I don't undervalue. In fact, I have a ton of value for people like you that help promote stock, super stock. And this is kind of a weird offshoot of that, Factory X and Factory Showdown. I mean, it's huge to have venues like this to talk about the car, talk about our program, explain to other people what we're doing, and give them a chance to kind of get in touch with it. And so your sticker will be proudly on the car at PRI if you bring one by.
Oh, you got it, sir. All right.
All right, man. All right,
thanks,
man.
Geoff.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for joining us, buddy. Take care.
Have a great
we
day.
appreciate
All
it.
right. Thank you.
Later. All right, that was Geoff Turk. That was nice. He took some time for us. We like that. I know he was busy, so he had to let him go there. But everybody, thanks for joining us. I want to update everyone on the fact that I still have Travis Hess, Chad Logie, the Grossi brothers, 2 interviews right there, Jerry Emmons, Angelo DiCarlo, Darcy Clark, 2 cars, Chuck Stubeck, Fred Moreno. I still got a lot of interviews in the pipeline, so every Thursday, be on the lookout for another one. I'm trying to do them in the order in which I got them, because I still have Travis Hess from the Dutch Classic. So he's up next. He's coming out on Thursday. So be on the lookout for that in 2 days. I also want everyone to know that I was paid by every contingency sponsor. I forgot to mention this a while ago, but I won a divisional back in May of last year, and I've gotten all that money. I think I got it all by there was a couple stragglers at the end, but I got everybody. All right, so I'm not waiting for any money. Thank you. The 2 wins that I had that required contingency in 21 and 22, gotten every single check. So ATI, Denso, VP, Summit, Autometer, Ford, Edelbrock, Comp Cams, McLeod Clutches, because I was running McLeod at that time, Jegs, Moser, Manley, and Mickey Thompson. They all paid. So thank you, NHRA. Thank you to those contingency sponsors. Support those sponsors that support us. Run their sticker if you buy their products. Let's not cheat them out of contingency, but if you're really running their products, run that sticker and thank them if they pay you, because it's helping us. And I appreciate it. I try to only buy from those that do pay. So, all right, guys, that's all we got today. Thanks for joining us. Driver Interviews with Bobby Fazio. If you want to sponsor the show, go to my website, driverinterviews.com. Like I said, there is actually a sponsor tab where there's the proposal. They put the proposal up in a viewer that I don't like. I don't want that viewer there, because it's like missing things and you can't click on the links that are in there. Right above the viewer, though, it says click here to download the proposal. So please click on that. Read the proposal. There's clickable. Anything you see underlined is clickable. So you can watch the videos, you can see interviews, you can go to certain things that I have in there, pictures. Check it out. Let me know how I did. Packages start at $100 a month or $1,000 for the year, $200 a month, $2,000 for the year, $300 a month, or $3,000 for the year. Okay, and you'll see on that proposal what you get for the money. Now, obviously, if you pay the $1,000 up front for the year, that lowers you from $100 a month down to about $83 a month. So if you want to save some money and you want to support what I think is a good cause for all of us, let me know. Okay, info@driverinterviews.com is the email. There's a contact form on my website. Go to driverinterviews.com, and that's it. So Thank you for joining us, guys. We appreciate it. Today was Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. This is Driver Interviews, and I'm Bobby Fazio, and I want everybody to have a good weekend. See you at PRI. Let me know if you're going.